Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the CCSN podcast. I'm Chris here with Chase. Chase, how you doing today?
I am doing outstanding. How are you?
I'm doing fucking awesome right now. We'll get to why I'm doing fucking awesome in a little bit, but let's start it off with something that wasn't so awesome yesterday. The Thursday night football game between the Broncos and the Colts. Now, this was probably the worst football game I've watched in recent memory. I mean, I've watched a lot of blowouts. I've watched a lot of terribly ran games, but this was the most boring game I probably watched in a very long time. Between two washed quarterbacks. Chase, give me your take on this game. Did you like anything from this game, and anything else from this game?
Did I like anything from this game? Come on, man. There's nothing at all that I liked from this game except for one thing. There was only one good takeaway, and it's that our Russell Wilson narratives that we've been pushing for a while coming to fruition. He is done. He cannot play quarterback at an elite level anymore. He does not have the athleticism that he used to have that allowed him to make the big time plays down the field. The only time Russell Wilson was making big shots down the field, those hole shots, it wasn't when he was sitting in the pocket and throwing deep to guys like Lockett and Metcalf. That was very rare. It was when he was evading rushers and he was making things happen with his legs. He doesn't really have that ability anymore. Now you couple that with a bad coach like Nathaniel Hackett, who's not able to maximize his strengths, which what he's able to do well right now is throw outside of the numbers. Anything over the middle of the field is just a joke for Russell Wilson. But when you have that dynamic duo of Russell Wilson and Nathaniel Hackett just screwing up your franchise, your offense is going to look absolutely terrible. I don't matter how many great weapons you have. I mean, this was shown perfectly on the last play of the game, where Hamler was wide open over the middle and Russ could not make that read. It's not even like he doesn't have the arm strength to make that read. He doesn't have the height, really. He's 6 foot, barely. He can't see over the line there to make that read, to make that throw. It's just not in his wheelhouse, which is why Russell Wilson is no longer a top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy too, because imagine being a Broncos fan right now. This is probably the worst they felt in a while. And if you said this to them before the season, they would probably laugh in my face. As I did say on Twitter, I said a couple months ago, I was like, I am not buying this Broncos hype. And I had a couple of people comment hateful things back to me. They were like, you don't know ball, blah, blah, all the usual stuff. But imagine being a Broncos fan right now and you're locked into this guy who literally looks horrible so far. And I know it's early, but he looks horrible so far for 6 more years for $50 million.
There
Like
is
that
an
is
out. There's an
year.
out after three more years after this one. There's an out.
And 3 more years of misery. So I mean, the cycle's just gonna keep on going then. Like that's the thing. And they'll be looking for their other quarterback by then. I've seen a couple good memes recently about the teams that lost out on the Russell Wilson sweepstake of them like popping the champagne bottles and all that stuff. It's pretty funny, but talking about another quarterback that got traded this offseason, Matt Ryan. I mean, this dude was getting pounded all night. The Colts offensive line, which was supposed to be great, fantastic, like it always is, hasn't been really. And it looked like I was watching a high school game. A lot of RPOs, a lot of checkdowns, just a lot of the same plays over and over again. A lot of sloppy play. It just was not good. I mean, Matt Ryan has the same amount of interceptions this year so far than Carson Wentz had all last year. I know Carson Wentz wasn't that great last year, but I don't know. Did they make the right move moving on, do you think?
Absolutely
I would have kept
not.
him.
I mean, I don't know that I would have kept Wentz necessarily, but I mean, at the situation that they got to, I feel like Wentz was probably the best option there. And that's another thing I feel like we were kind of on, because Matt Ryan is not any different. Well, he's very different, but in a bad way. Like Matt Ryan has not been good for about 2 seasons. I mean, what we saw in Atlanta from Matt Ryan was not encouraging. He was not able to move around a pocket very well, which, I mean, you were expecting him to go to the Colts and have a great offensive line, but I feel that's like a lot of Madden, to be honest, in a lot of people's head. Quentin Nelson hasn't played like a top left guard in the league in a long time. Like he is not that kind of guy. And they haven't filled that left tackle spot since Costanzo retired. And they just haven't filled it at all. So it was Bernard Ryman who allowed, I think he had 3 penalties in his first start. I mean, there's not a lot to like on that offensive line when you've got a guy like Matt Ryan, who really is a detriment to the offensive line as a whole. Then you're missing a guy like Jonathan Taylor and Nyheim Hines, who you got Phillip Lindsay starting at running back. He's Phillip Lindsay. So, like, with the Colts offense, there was no change in it, in my opinion, during the offseason. It was not very like a very enticing offense going into the offseason. It was really just Jonathan Taylor is going to carry us all the way there. And is Jonathan Taylor like, I know he's like a top 3 back, but is he like this game-changing back? Is he the Derrick Henry level, the LaDainian Tomlins?
Yeah.
He is a franchise back, but he's like an all-time great back that's able to carry an offense. That's a very hard thing to be, and I don't think that Jonathan Taylor is that kind of guy, and you don't really want to give that kind of a guy, or any guy really, that kind of workload. So I don't see it a lot with the Colts offense, and I didn't see it at all. I predicted the Titans to win this division because most people were picking the Colts to easily come back, win this. I don't know that I'm going to be right. I might be right on the Titans. Titans, they're starting to look right again. Their defense is coming back. Ryan Tannehill, watch out. He's in top 12 of all those passing offense stats, those averages, which that's what you always see from Ryan Tannehill, because Mike Vrabel, he puts together good offenses. So we'll see on that. But the main point here, Colts are going to very, very overly disappoint this season.
Yeah, they did not look fun yesterday. They did not look good. And they owe Matt Ryan $35 million still next year on the last year of his deal. So have fun.
I thought this was the last year. They've got another year on Matt Ryan.
This is I was looking at this is the last year. Yeah, forgive me. I was looking at the wrong one. He's a free agent after this year. So I guess that's good. But still, if I'm the Colts, this is my final stance on the Colts. I think it's time to pack it up. I think it's time to restart. And because realistically, this was their offseason to go out and get a quarterback. There were multiple available, it seemed like, at some points for the right price, even. And they didn't do it. They didn't do the right thing. And if there's a year to go and trade up for a quarterback, or you think there's a guy in the draft, I think it's this year. I'm not saying you have to trade everybody, but I don't know. I feel
they're
like
not going to have to trade much. They'll be picking pretty high up.
Yeah, that's true.
They're going to have a shot. I think they'll probably take Will Levis, which is going to be interesting. I can already predict that right now, that Will Levis will be the Colts quarterback, because that just feels like such a perfect fit.
He's the same age as Kenny Pickett. That was a little surprising to me. I mean, it wasn't surprising, but I forgot. He's like 24.
Yeah, there is a bit of he spent a lot of time at Penn State as a backup, which is kind of how behind Clifford, which he really shouldn't have been. And then he lost a year to COVID. So I kind of give him a bit of an excuse for that. But I really like Levis's arm talent. Like, I feel like Levis is the spiral he's able to put on the ball and the velocity behind the throws. It's really enticing to me. I haven't been able to do a full scouting report on any of the quarterbacks yet, so I don't know who's my favorite. I'm not going to name any names yet. But Levis is a guy that I've had my eye on for a while. But back to the Colts a little bit. They had Rivers, Carson Wentz, and Matt Ryan in a 3-year span. These are all quarterbacks that have played very well at a very high level in their career. They were old in 2 of the cases and past their prime in Wentz's case, but they didn't win the division once in that span. And they are in the worst division in football, hands down. They get 4 easy wins a year, I should say, and they haven't been able to do anything with that. And when you look at the EPOA charts, and which is basically the expected pass completion over average, you're looking at it, you get Matt Ryan. He's in the level with Baker Mayfield, Mitch Trubisky, Joe Flacco, Carson Wentz, Daniel Jones, Jameis Winston. That's not where you want to be. That's not where you spent capital on a quarterback to go get. So I don't trust this front office to really make the right decisions at quarterback. So I think we might see Reich get fired. We might see Irsay step down. We might see some real shakeup in this Colts organization that's been a staple for a long time.
Yeah, I think that's what they need, honestly. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's still 24 years old, so a lot left in the tank. It wasn't like he did what he did last year at like a 27-year-old season. They have Alec Pierce, who looked actually really good yesterday. He had like 80 yards and made that one hell of a good catch that saved Matt Ryan's ass at the end of the game. So I really like that of the draft. And Michael Pittman's still young. I mean, he hasn't dropped the pass this year so far. So they have a lot of good weapons, and I really do think that a turnover and just whole front office coaching staff would do this team a lot of justice. It's time. It hasn't worked. That's really the thing with this team.
Andrew Luck retiring is really what screwed this franchise over. Like you had the quarterback and you retired at 29 years old.
But hey, he did what he had to do. You can't blame the man. Cannot blame the man. So that was really all I had from the game last night. I don't know if you have
One more
anything
thing.
else on it.
I got to give my
Go
flowers
ahead.
to one more guy. Sorry, I completely forgot. Caden Stearns played an awesome game last night at safety. He was very underrated going into the draft and showed out. Really showed out. Got his
Good
chance. Some guys
interception.
went down. He did have the big interception. I thought he played well outside of that as well. So got to give my flowers to Caden Stern and Bradley.
Broncos lost 2 starters too yesterday. They lost Darby and who else was it? I think it was the defensive tackle. I think I can't think of his name right now though.
Yeah, I forget on that one.
Yeah, but they lost 2 starters. So this defense is that's been the one shining part of the Broncos so far. I mean, their defenses look pretty good in every single game, and now they're losing 2 starters. So way to kick somebody while they're down, I guess you could say. But moving on, it's time to give our locks of the week. And Chase, you do the honor. You start it off.
I think that I am going to start with the Packers over the Giants. Giants have one of the worst rushing defenses in football. I think that the Packers are going to start going back to running the football a lot this week. I think it's the best way that their team is built. I think you could see you'll see some Romeo Dubs action, but I think it's going to be mostly AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones. After that, I got the Bucks over the Falcons. Tom Brady's not losing to Mariota. Then I got the Bills over Steelers because Kenny Pickett is starting. That's about all I need to say. Vikings over the Bears. That one's a little bit interesting. I'm not totally confident picking that one as much because Kirk Cousins is 5-4 in his career as a Viking against Chicago. But I think that they're a much better team. So I'm going to stick with that one. And then I have 49ers over the Panthers. So I just think that the 49ers, they've had a historically great defense through the first 4 weeks of the season. I mean, it's on paper the best since 1999, since the turn of the century, since we've got these stats introduced, really. And I think this is the game that Matt Rule gets fired.
It should be. I mean, Panthers fans have been praying for it for a long time. Baker Mayfield, I mean, I'm not talking about Baker Mayfield, but this dude took a $4 million cut to play on this team. It is not looking like it's helped either of them out so far. So it's been a pretty shitty situation in Carolina. But my 4 locks of the week, I'm going with the Patriots over the Lions because I think this Lions defense is not going to be able to hold that rushing attack all week or all game with Damian Harris and Stevenson. Or Damian Harris, excuse me, and Stevenson. I really like them. So my next one is Packers over the Giants. For as you said, I think they're going to go stick with the running game. I do not trust the Giants. I think they're frauds still, even though they're 3-1. And this is probably the first real team that they face. So we'll see what happens. Next, I have the Dolphins over the Jets. I think the Dolphins are going to come out here, get this good win over the Jets, get right back on track. Then I have the Jaguars over the Texans this week. I think the Texans are just trash. I think the Jaguars are not that bad. So I think they were getting a little overrated, if I'm being honest, after 3 weeks, but I still think they're a pretty decent team, and I think they're going to come out with the W. And I have locked them every week so far, so I am going to keep it going. I have the Eagles over the Cardinals in Arizona, even though they are missing some couple key starters. But I don't know. After I saw that Jalen Hurts interview a couple days ago or yesterday, they didn't ask one question about the Cardinals during the whole press conference, and he was the one who brought it up. Said they were a great team, and we got a lot to prepare about. Everything this guy says in the press conference just makes me love him even more. So I'm going with the Eagles over the Cardinals.
Hurts is one of those guys that he just has that it factor in press conferences. Whatever he says is right. He just always says the right thing. So that's what you want out of your quarterback. But I want to move back. You're locking Bailey Zappi in his first career start. I don't hate the Pats were on my radar as a lock. I thought about it. I think Zappi's a fairly good backup quarterback, but I want to hear what's your opinion on that?
My thing is, last week, even against the Packers, they didn't put him in a lot of stressful situations. They did a lot of easy plays for him that made it easy for him to connect on. And the Lions, frankly, are probably the worst defensive line in the league right now. And I think Bill Belichick is going to expose the hell out of that this week. I think it's going to be actually, a high-scoring game. I mean, the Lions lead the league in points, and I don't really trust the Patriots defense that much. I think I can see a game, and I definitely bet the over. That's what I got to say with this game. But I think the
Lions
Patriots come on top.
defense is disgustingly bad. I mean, it's just their front seven is terrible, man.
It's horrible. It's like literally, as you said last week, your favorite Dan Campbell quote. They bite their toes off.
They do.
But
they're not biting any kneecaps. It's just toes over there.
So yeah, that's my thing about the Patriots.
I guess
this week.
Bailey Zapp, he's Tom Brady. Sixth-round pick.
That's what I was gonna say.
He was pretty much everybody's draft crush coming out of the draft. Everybody loved Bailey Zapp as that one quarterback like that. He might have something, but just no arm strength.
I feel like we haven't had like every year. There's a quarterback, like as you just said, like there's always that guy late. When was the last guy who like
Gardner Minshew? Late,
if we're gonna count. I'm saying really hit.
There aren't really any. Like Kurt Warner.
Can we count
Kurt
Dak
Warner,
Prescott?
Tom Brady. Dak was like a third, fourth, right?
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about guys that like draft crushes. Okay. I remember Kellen Mond was a draft crush of some people. Like there were, I know what you're talking about.
Year,
those guys just tend to go a little bit higher.
Matt Corral, I feel like, was a big one this year. And
because you never got to see anything with Matt Corral. You never got any examination. It was all a guessing game with him because that offense was nothing close to a pro style offense at Ole Miss. It was no reading the field. He was not making any difficult throws. He was playing like the most basic quarterback ever. So maybe that could have been an indictment on him, but that's just Lane Kiffin. So you really had to know Matt Corral. You had to get him in the building, which it speaks volumes that the Panthers were the team that took him.
Yeah, Panthers are a mess right now. I do like that Matt. I think if they get blown out or it's like a bad loss, that he'll lose his job. But
I think that it's almost guaranteed to be a bad loss. I mean, this is a team, the Niners, that are coming off a win over the Rams, and they have like I was saying, a historically great defense against Matt Rule and Baker Mayfield. That does not feel like a successful thing. I don't know. That's not going to happen. You know what I'm saying? That's just not going to work out very well for the Panthers. So
I just think Charlotte as a city,
successful equation.
Teams, they just don't know how to. I like that one. I just think Charlotte as a sports city just does not know when to fire their head coach. Like that's just like a rolling theme in that city with the Panthers and the Hornets, and Hornets actually bringing back their old coach this offseason, which was, we'll get more into that when we're talking NBA, which I thought was just pretty funny. But anyway, I just feel bad for Charlotte fans if I'm being honest. But anyway, it's time to move on. I'm done with the NFL. You got anything else? It is time to move on to the MLB postseason. We were talking about the Eagles hopefully beating the shit out of some Redbirds this weekend, and the Phillies actually did that in St. Louis today. This was one of the best wins I've watched in a very long time for this team, probably since I was around 7 years old. And this win is a lot more than the win itself, if that makes any sense. This was the first time in Cardinals history that they lost after going up by 2 in the 8th inning. First time in MLB history. And that's speaking volumes. The Cardinals don't have their closing pitcher for the next 2 games, probably. The dude got hurt on the mound. He's been one of the best closers in the league recently. And, he got hurt. And I don't see the Cardinals rebounding from this, if I'm being quite honest right now. I really don't. I think that is going to just be the nail in the coffin. I'm not trying to jinx it. I'm just saying, what a detrimental way to lose.
Yeah, you can't lose that game if you're the Cardinals. They have the worst bullpen by ERA in the playoffs right now, which is the 11th best in the league still. But that's not going to cut it in the playoffs, especially because their bullpen is so reliant on 3 players, on Jordan Hicks, on Gallegos, and on Ryan Helsley.
And they used them all.
All 3 of those guys pitched today, and they got absolutely 2 of them pitched well, and it just came down to Helsley, who he's coming off an injury in the last game that he played, which is that's scary to throw a guy like that out for a 5-out save opportunity.
Yeah, that was stupid.
That was a very risky call that did not pay off. And Jose Quintana tossed a gem. Zach Wheeler on the other side tossed a gem, and it came down to a bullpen game. And I think that as a bullpen game in game 1 means that game 2 and game 3, you're really relying on your starters and the Phillies have Aaron Nola and Ranger Suarez coming up. And I mean, those are two very good pitchers to have on the mound. I mean, Aaron Nola's pitched as well as any other pitcher in the league so far this season. And I mean, there's a good case for him to have the NL Cy Young this year, but that's a bit of a different story.
And he's not going to finish top 5. But yeah, I agree with you. This was the game that the Cardinals needed to win, and they put themselves in that situation. They were in the driver's seat. I mean, it looked like they had the game on lock. The Phillies looked lifeless. They went to the top of the 9th. Rhys Hoskins struck out to start the inning, and I was like, here we go, a typical Philly loss. And then this was the funny thing. You know, I was thinking typical Phillies loss when I was watching this. This was the most untypical Cardinals loss ever. Like, I feel like the Cardinals are just such a, they're in this situation. Like, they got it. They know what they're doing. Nolan Arenado. Yep, Nolan Arenado. Exactly. That was the part. I was like, this is over. Like, what was that? I've never seen that. Never in my life would I think I would see a Nolan Arenado error, if I'm being 100% honest.
And it doesn't go down as an error, but
if I told you, it looked like, to me,
it was an error. It was.
If I told you before this game that Alec Bohm would have outplayed him in game 1, you would have
at third base. Not just in general, outplayed him at third base, which is
third base.
That is impressive. And I mean, it's a 1-game sample size as baseball. The difference between Alec Bohm outplaying him is literally just hitting that double. That's it.
Yeah.
So
and getting hit,
but taking
that 101 and clapping after.
And that's a dog move right there. That meme needs to be retired, but not until Alec Bohm gets it. Not till Alec Bohm gets that picture on Twitter, because he deserves it. He took 101 right to the shoulder and went up and started clapping. It doesn't get better than that. It does not get. That is Philadelphia to a T. We love Alec Bohm here. There's the Philly bias for a minute. They had to get that one out.
We had to get it out. We usually would have gone in order, but you know, when your team makes it for the first time in 11 fucking years, you got to get it out sometimes. We're moving on.
And then they win the game. They win the game.
Exactly.
That way, 6 runs in the 9th after 93-0 the Cardinals. Come on, it does not get better than that. Philadelphia deserves to celebrate today. We deserve to have a little bit of a celebration right now.
Oh, I feel fantastic. I literally feel fantastic. But moving on, if we're talking about not as a fan bias, we're going to talk podcast bias now. We're going to move on to the Guardians. This was kind of, I would say, and if you disagree with me, let me know, but our baby of an MLB team going into this season, or going into this podcast at least, we always were believers in this team. We were always saying Shane Bieber's, still got it. We were saying we love this pitching staff. We love the rotation. And what did it come down to today? Their star power. It came down to Shane Bieber pitching an absolute gem, Clase closing it off, and the icing on the cake is Jose Ramirez was the reason they scored their runs. If there is a star-heavy team in the major leagues, it is this team. I mean, that's how they got it done all season. Great pitching and timely at-bats, and that's exactly what they did. And the Guardians are a very scary team, and they're the youngest team. Like, shout out to this team. They're exciting. The fan base was awesome today in Cleveland. That stadium is always roaring when it's time for playoff baseball.
They're getting a lot of production out of some guys that they really needed to get it, because the one thing that scared me about the Guardians was the fact that they were so top heavy. They only have those guys at the top, it looked like. But I mean, you're getting production from a lot of these young guys. Like Steven Kwan was an absolute just diamond in the rough to find. And then you've got Oscar Gonzalez, who came in as a rookie this year. He was very good. He had a near 800 OPS. He had, a 2.7 WAR. I mean, the dude, he's been good this season. They've got a lot of guys like that on that level of player, and that makes a team very, very scary. And they've got a dirty pitching staff. And right now, I think they could definitely win this series. That's not in question, in my opinion. I think that it'll be close, but I feel like they might edge this out. I think they could even go a little bit deeper than that too.
Yeah, I think my bracket, I have them beating the Yankees. I just really trust their pitching staff, and we'll see where it takes them. This has just been great sample size so far.
As a team coming out of the wild card, you've got to be very excited to see that the Yankees are next, because the Yankees are not a team that would scare me much if I'm a playoff team. The Yankees feel like one of those teams that's destined to lose right away.
when you watch this team play the New York Yankees, I mean, other than the fact that they were, all very happy for Aaron Judge, that whole thing with the home run, they don't look like they're having fun. Like that's one thing you notice. And we talk about this all the time in sport on this podcast. There's so many different aspects to go into winning that people don't really talk about. And especially in like baseball and, every other sport, obviously, you have to be having fun. You have to enjoy playing with these guys. And they just don't look like the Yankees. They just look like they are waiting for the season to be over, in my opinion. And they just know something is going to happen. Like, that's just how I look at it.
There's a lot of individuals on the Yankees. They don't do a lot of playing as a team.
And that's what the Yankees.
Well, yeah, that's all I had to say about that.
That's what they used to be. So, I mean, it was hard. Anyway, the Mariners today, another one of our favorite teams going into this year.
Luis Castillo, baby.
Luis Castillo, the man
he's
pitched a gem.
as advertised.
Exactly. I mean, what else could you ask for from him? A great game. He looked dominant, and his best inning was his last inning where he struck out the side. I mean, the dude just he looked like the funny thing is about this game too, and as soon as I saw this quote last night, I was like, the Mariners have this one in the bag. Alec, yesterday, they asked him about pressure, and he was like, pressure something you put in your tires. A very hard quote. It's very cool. I get it. But I, myself, personally would never say that because I feel like it would come back to bite me in the ass. And in the first inning, he let up 3 runs, it was 3 runs. The last run came later. He pitched a very good game after that. I got to give it to him. He bounced back. But I don't know. There's only I knew that was going to come back. I knew that was going to bite him in the ass. The Mariners played very situational baseball today, very good, and that's what they needed to do. They went into Toronto and they won their first playoff game for the first time in 21 fucking years. So shout out Seattle. Great day for you guys. Great couple of hours. I mean, you just watched Russell Wilson look like shit, and you gave him up, and you have Geno Smith. You're watching all your old Legion of Boom members like Richard Sherman and Doug Baldwin tear this guy up on social media because they apparently fucking hate him. And Seattle was just a great day to be a Seattle guy, if I'm being honest right now. Like, shout out to you guys. Definitely having a good day.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I don't know if you saw the Kyle Brandt rant on him, but I feel like a lot of the Seattle, because Seattle's not really that tied to Russell Wilson. They don't really love him.
They don't love him.
They don't. I mean, and I feel like that Kyle Brandt, because he basically exposed Russell Wilson because he's a guy that's very in tune with all that stuff. And we're getting back to football here a little bit, but he showed he's what Brandt said specifically is that this guy is a poser, and that when he goes to these events with people and Sierra and all these other quarterbacks, they're talking to people, they're talking to the media. Russell Wilson goes like that. He says, "Oh no, we're not talking to people today." That's not a kind of guy that wins their locker room, and especially when he's corny like he is. So that's all. Russell Wilson hate train is going very strong. But back to Seattle, they're having a great time, and they gave up a king's ransom for Luis Castillo. They gave up a package, and is this one of those rare situations where both teams win the trade?
Absolutely. I mean, I think we both said this when it happened. This was a trade that the Mariners know they needed to make to actually. When they made this trade, they were looking good. They looked like they finally caught their rhythm. They were ready to go out and compete, and they knew they were one piece away, and they got it. They got their game 1 starter at the trade deadline, and I think, in my opinion, a top 10 pitcher in baseball. For, yes, a very good prospect pool, but you're trying to compete, and that's what they did. They went out there. They gave up a lot, but look what he just did for them, and that's what they needed, and it looked great.
I don't know that I disagree on top 10. I think Luis Castillo might belong in that conversation.
He is. I don't think I can name 9 better than him.
I just tried to in my head and I couldn't do it. So yeah, I think I gotta agree with you. And shout out the Mariners for going and making that move, because that takes balls, because there were 2 guys on the market, one going for that big of a package, and then you had Frankie Montas going for a big package, but not the same amount of package or the same size of a package. So when you're looking at that and you're evaluating that as a GM, a lot of GMs are going to take the short way out, and they're going to go take Montas. And that, I mean, look at the Yankees. The Yankees went that and did that.
Yankees
They weren't
fans hate
willing
'em.
to. They weren't willing to make that move and include both of their top prospects, like the Mariners were, and that's what it came down to, and that's the difference. Well, the Mariners
So,
include three of their top.
see, like that's the thing. I mean, like, right. I mean, if I said this back then, I don't really remember if I said this back then. I'm going to be honest, but this trade for the Mariners puts them in a better situation and makes more sense, I feel like, than it would have been for the Yankees, if that makes any sense. Because if you give up, I think the Yankees were looking at this from a way of Aaron Judge might leave this offseason. And like these two guys are supposed to be like our next guys up to, especially Volpe. I mean, I think he could start next year for them. And yes, there's a time to make that trade, but I feel like the Yankees were looking at other options with that too. Like the Mariners knew after they made this trade, this guy's going to be here for 4 years, 3 years, whatever the contract was. And I think this trade was just absolutely perfect for Seattle. But the Yankees still gave up a pretty good haul for Montez. And
That's what I'm saying here. Is like, what is the difference enough?
I don't know.
I feel like if
like
you throw Luis Castillo onto the Yankees team, we're talking about a different thing here. You throw
Yeah,
Luis Castillo, keep Jordan Montgomery.
They wanted
Well, you got
Jason.
Bader. I like Bader.
Yeah, Bader is a very good addition for them. But the package they wanted included Jason Dominguez and Anthony Volpe. And I think that like those are two guys that I think are going to be studs. I mean, Jason Dominguez has looked fantastic so far ever
Those are two
since
of my favorite prospects in baseball.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Volpe has been my guy since he was literally the day he was drafted, and Chase will always vouch for me on this. I sent the exact post when the Yankees posted it, and I was like, this guy is going to be a stud. Like I knew
Jersey
it.
Pipeline.
Exactly.
Jersey Pipeline, baby.
And I get it though. Like that's what I'm saying. If it included one of them, if they could have got it down to one plus like, all the fillers, then yes, they should have done it. But if it was Peraza, Volpe, Dominguez, Waldich, like there was a line to not cross. But that's the thing. They gave up Waldachuk and he's been pitching pretty damn good recently. And Montez, they didn't want him on the playoff rotation, or the playoff roster. So like lesson Yankees fans, lessons to the New York Yankees, do not trade for athletics pitchers anymore. Like it does not work. Sonny Gray, now Montez, and
they already didn't learn their lesson.
Yeah,
like they're on their third strike here, dude. If they go ahead and make a trade for, oh God, I don't even know who would you even want on that athletic staff right now. There's not anybody like that, but God. There will be somebody will pop up. They always
exactly.
Do. So yeah.
They breed them. They breed them.
They really do.
Actually, I'm going to be honest. I didn't think we were going to be talking about the Oakland Athletics in October, but yesterday, in game 162,
we're not really talking about them.
Stephen Vogt hit in his last at bat, hit a home run. That was pretty
sick.
cool. That was really a very cool moment. Kurt Suzuki retired, another 16-year legend. So
we can't let these things go up over the radar. I mean, these are some pretty important guys that are they're gone.
These like that's the thing. Like I always will appreciate in every single sport the role player that
Udonis
sticks around. I don't know. He kind of.
Okay, yeah. After Udonis has him until he was 39.
Yeah, like that was just until he was 39. I'm like, just go away. Just go away. But yeah, I enjoy that, and especially when they're just big clubhouse guys. Like you can't hate on them. But anyway, that's enough for the Oakland Athletics for like 4 years probably. Moving on, actually, you were talking about Udonis Haslem. That got me thinking about basketball and just those type of guys. And we have Draymond Green in the Jordan Poole situation. Wow. We all read the report at first about them saying that he hit him, blah, blah, blah. And like the media tends to stretch the truth, obviously. He hit him. He punched the shit out of Jordan Poole.
He slept him.
Like
he slept Jordan Poole in practice. That is not something that's going like.
You can't do that.
You're not getting not punished for that. I can tell you that.
Especially now the videos leaked. Oh, and I mean, honestly, shout out that assistant. The dude probably ought a bag for that from TMZ. He'll be all right. But what are you doing right now if you're the Warriors? Because I know you have to make a whole thing about how they're gonna, find the chemistry again, blah blah blah. And I've seen people on Twitter saying Michael Jordan punched Steve Kerr in the face. Like, see how that? This is not the same thing. Like, obviously, and
that was assault. Was what it was.
That was assault. Like, Jordan Poole pushed him because Draymond Green came up on him. And if I'm being honest, I could see this. This reminds me a lot of the Kevin Durant situation. Remember when
I feel like it
Draymond
blows up this team?
Yeah, and that's I don't know. It's just crazy because it makes sense that if you could get rid of Draymond, you'd get rid of Draymond. But for the Warriors, you're not going to do that.
Exactly. And like, do you want to get rid of
you can't do
like,
that.
You can't get rid of either of them, but you have to get rid of somebody because here's the issue here. And J.R. Smith actually is doing a very good commentary on this on Twitter. J.R. Smith has been on the ball with this. The Warriors, everybody's talking about the Warriors have to fire the guy that leaked the video. So they're firing the guy that leaked the video. That's the precedent. You fire somebody for leaking a video. However, just 2 days ago, you have somebody that's employed by you making millions of dollars assaulting another employee. So where is who gets fired for what? Where's the workplace dynamic there? And that's the issue that the Warriors are having internally now. So I feel like that's going to throw everything off, everything from the top to the bottom of the organization. I don't know if I feel like I'm over exaggerating a little bit, but I don't think so, because every single person in this organization has to feel a type of way because now a video assistant is involved in this altercation now. It's so big of a thing that something has to happen here. And it can't just be somebody get fired for a video, like for leaking a video. That cannot be the only punishment that comes out of this. So, like, and then who do you just punish Poole and get rid of him? You can't really do that, but you can't get rid of Draymond, but you can't have both of them on the same team, can you? Like, if you do have both of them on the same team, that's not going to work out. They're not going to win a lot of games. I could guarantee you.
That's the thing. It's lose-lose. Mm-hmm. But listen, Draymond crossed the line. You crossed the line. I mean, like, unless Jordan Poole said something that was, like, insane, which I really doubt. I mean, like, Draymond just, like, has that, like, I feel like he just reached a little bit and, punched this guy in the face. And, as Isaiah Thomas said on Twitter, all these NBA players were reacting to this, and they were like, I would have not let that slide. Like, I would have, like, I mean, if we're being honest, Draymond would probably sock Isaiah Thomas, but I'm just saying, in retrospect, like, all these NBA players, all these athletes, just everybody are coming out and saying, like, oh my God, like, what are you doing? Like, you crossed the line, Draymond. And if the Warriors were to punish Jordan Poole or, like, trade Jordan Poole or whatever the hell they could do, it would put them, I feel like it would make them look worse. Like, you're punishing this guy because he got punched in the face. Yes, I understand what Draymond's done for your organization, but hell, if I can trade Draymond right now, I'm just gonna say I would trade him. It would be a distraction for the first month, for the first, probably a little long, probably 3 months of the season, maybe first half, but I don't know.
You lose Draymond, this Warriors team loses its juice. I'm just like this Warriors offense does not work without Draymond in it. I'm overly critical of Draymond, but like it's not going to work the same. So there's a payoff there.
I'm saying from a just like the other standpoints. If you go out there, if they trade Jordan Poole, they're literally going to have to say we traded this guy because Draymond Green punched him in the face and they can't get along in practice. What else are you going to say in that situation? And you know what? And Jordan Poole is going to do that all-out interview in like next summer or something when he's on another team, because Jordan Poole, I think, as you said, I think Draymond 100% is more locked in on this team than Jordan Poole, obviously. And I think Jordan Poole probably wouldn't mind a change of scenery. He'll be like one of the main scorers, blah, 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 obviously all these things. But I cannot wait for this all-inclusive interview for Jordan Poole to come out and like say, because what do you think the first thing he's going to say is now? There's video. It's what he's going to say. Oh, it wasn't a punch. It wasn't a big deal. No, he charged at you and he wanted to kill you. And as you said, he like sucker punched him. It was a terrible look for this team, for this championship team right now.
Neither Draymond or Poole has had to appear in front of media yet. We have not seen either of them make an appearance in front of media, and that's when things are going to get even more interesting. We haven't seen Bob Myers make an appearance in front of media. We haven't seen Steph Curry. This is going to start, like, we have not seen the end of this situation, and I think that something has to happen. Something's got to give.
Did you see Steph Curry made a little lighter note. Did you see Steph Curry in that video? He kind of just minded his own business like
Yeah.
the whole time. I love Steph. He's kind of just chilling. But yeah, this team, I'm very excited to see what happens with this whole situation. All right, to end it all, do you think one of them isn't on the team to start the year? Really? Do you think this? Or do you think they start the year off with both of them? Because I think they do.
I honestly have no idea. The only thing that I can say to that is that I know that the Warriors front office, and because from what they've shown me throughout my entire time watching basketball and being a fan of the NBA, the Warriors front office always makes like the right moral move, almost like not even moral, right move, just in general. Like they're just a good franchise. Like Bob Myers and Loeb at the top, they're great at what they do. Like these are the top of the line guys. So the decision that they're going to make is going to be the best decision for their franchise. And I can't really predict what that's going to be because I'm not on that level of those executives, honestly. Like Bob Myers, dude's miles ahead of me. Can't even lie.
It's just pretty crazy to see Draymond Green in another jersey. Like it would be wild.
If I had to say, that's not going to happen. Draymond Green will never play for another team other than the Warriors. It makes no sense for that to happen. This won't be the final straw on that.
Well, I'm very excited to see what happens. Well, the NBA season is coming up very soon. I think I believe, 9 days away now. Is it the 16th it starts?
Is it?
Right?
Damn. Yeah, I mean, I know it's close, like, but damn.
It's like 9 days away. I mean, yeah, the NBA is great. I feel like it never actually there's like the off season. The off season's always fun. It always has the most drama. And like with this Nets situation this year, like the whole
we got Victor Wembanyama playing right now too. Like we got fun stuff in basketball all the time, all season, too.
Just one thing that it's just so funny that every year there's the new guy, and like some years like there was like the Zion year where it was like just Zion. It's gonna be like this now with Vic, and this dude is so fun to watch. Like, and I gotta give you your flowers on this. You've been sending me his videos since we were in like 6th grade, probably 7th grade. So I mean,
I've been on the Victor Wembanyama train since he was 14 years old, dude. I feel so good about this. Why am I not like a GM? Maybe Bob Myers is not that far ahead of me. Maybe I should be an executive for a team. Because I knew that Victor Wembanyama was good.
Exactly. So I mean, like this dude looked insane. His shot, he literally looks like Kevin Durant in some situations. I mean, you can't guard him. You literally cannot guard this guy. I mean, you definitely saw him and Rudy Gobert standing next to each other, and he's like 2 heads taller than this guy. And Rudy Gobert's like 7'2". It's nuts. The dude's a freak of nature, as LeBron. He's an alien, as LeBron.
What's the game plan? What is the game plan against Victor Wembanyama?
I hope the game plan is he doesn't play in Utah. That's the last place I want to see him play.
That would suck.
I saw something today, and like I don't like Karl Malone, obviously, because like who he is. But I saw this thing today where he didn't want to get drafted to Utah like so bad, like it was his number one thing. And I believe it was Seattle told them they were going to draft him, and they didn't. And then he fell to Utah, and he actually cried during his interview. And
I get it.
Like just all this stuff, and I was like, nobody wants to, like, you always hear that, like, oh, like imagine getting drafted to this team, but imagine getting drafted to Utah. Like nobody wants to play there. It's crazy, but I don't know.
Utah and Minnesota, man. Utah and Minnesota.
I would rather play in Minnesota than Utah.
Now you would, because Minnesota is going to be a 50-win team this year. But imagine getting drafted to Minnesota like 10 years ago.
I'm just saying.
When they had Nikola Pekovic starting at center.
I'm not even talking from like that standpoint. I'm talking from like living standpoint. I mean, if you
and Minnesota is one of those places where like, dude, it's 90 or negative 92 degrees when you step out of the stadium. Like I would shit myself. Like you saw the Devontae Smith weather in 50-degree or Devontae Smith. He's like crying in 50-degree weather. Imagine going to negative 90 in Minnesota. Not for me.
They're lucky they got that stadium now. I mean, literally when the Eagles played there for the Super Bowl, I remember like the whole thing. It was like negative 10 degrees or something. Like that would.
Everybody was like, "We want to go home. We have to be here all week because there's all the events." And we're like,
the Alshon Jeffrey, the interview.
That's literally what I was thinking about. That's
the
literally what I was thinking
sunglasses.
about. Mm-hmm.
That's like the best. That is a underrated sports interview. He's like, man, I hate this shit. I wish we could have just flew in on Saturday morning. Like,
Mm-hmm.
shout out Alshon Jeffrey. But yeah, not Utah. You know, sorry if anyone from here is from Utah. I apologize, but I just personally wouldn't want to play there.
I
But
don't
anyway,
apologize.
uh, I saw this thing, this like whole theory, not theory, but just a lot of people think he's going to end up on the Spurs, Vic, because like it's just that time for them again to get the big man, to build around the big man, and I'm honestly here for it. I'd love to see him with the Spurs. I think if I'm wrong, correct me. Greg Popovich said this was his last year, right?
Nope. We are
Did he?
seeing we're seeing Greg Popovich do one of the saddest things I've ever seen in my life. I actually, this was something I wanted to talk about on the podcast eventually, but yeah, Popovich has been on the block saying he's gonna retire soon for the longest time, but it's just not gonna happen. He to me feels like a guy that's gonna play or coach basketball for as long as he can because that is his art. Like that is what he does better than anybody else in the world. He's an artist in his job. And I feel like he's just kind of one of those guys that's going to die with a paintbrush in his hand, you know? Like that's who he is. And it's kind of sad, but this is all Pop has, you know? After like cuz there's a lot of personal things about Pop that I don't want to get into here, but he doesn't have, and I'm sure he's got like some family left, but his wife is no longer with him. So this is his love, like his true love is basketball. We've seen it from Pop. Pop could have retired a long time ago. He's been coaching a team that's been winning 20 games a year, but this is what he wants to do. So I think that if they were to get Wembanyama, I think that, yeah, you're going to be seeing it with Pop. Pop will be developing this guy.
He's really 73 years old too. I love Pop though.
I mean, you've got to respect. You love Pop as a coach and as a guy and everything, but there's a level of respect that you got to have for Popovich, a guy that just is so great at what he does and just does it for as long as he physically can. Like there aren't many people that are that level of talent.
I just looked it up, and apparently last year he said, "I'm going to do one more year." But as you said, he's kind of just been saying that forever. And you know what? If I'm being honest, it would be cool either way to see the situation unfold with him and with Vic in San Antonio. You know, you either stay a couple years with Pop and like we'll see that whole thing, or it'd kind of be like if he does retire, let's say it'd be like the new blood, like the new head coach, your new building block. So like that would be cool either way. And like they got all these picks now from the Hawks, which I mean we talked about this last podcast. I got 3 first-round pick for DeJounte Murray, which is kind of crazy to me. That's one thing about the NBA, which is just like nuts, like the trade capital compared to every other
Stepien rule and the pick limit. How far do you think teams would be trading their first round picks in the future?
What was the the big trade Kevin Durant one? What do you think? Like imagine that. Like if I could have genuinely seen like 7 or 6 if like it took something like that. Like if they could have done like.
Well, there were no teams giving up 5 even. There were no teams even willing to do that.
Yes, but
that's because it's Kevin Durant. I think a better no, because Kawhi Leonard got traded for like pinky toe. Sorry, DeMar DeRozan. But like
that's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, really. That trade was nothing. It was DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl and like a first. Did they even get a first? I don't think they got a first.
I'm looking it up.
As far as I remember, it was just DeMar DeRozan and Jakob Poeltl. And
like I remember Spurs fans were like, oh, they got a protected 2019 first round pick, and it was protected from 1 to 20. Like they literally stole.
Damn.
How did that work?
Kyle Lowry got traded for more.
Not to get. That's the thing. What I'm saying, like I just feel like over the past couple of years in the NBA, it's just become so like, oh, this guy's like.
I got the
Kyle Lowry.
Anthony Davis trade. How many picks do you think Anthony Davis could have been traded for? First round picks were like not limited.
7 or 8.
I think it would have been like 10. The Lakers would have given up everything for Anthony Davis. They gave up 5 first round players that were already.
I think it would have been like 7 or 8 picks plus Lonzo and plus BI, and that would have been crazy. I'm really happy that that's not a thing though. Like that would just suck.
Yeah.
Like that's a great rule to have because I mean, I always shut it off when I play 2K, but that's a different story. You got to shut it off. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch just this whole NBA season, if I'm being honest. I mean, there's like a lot of the East. When was the last time you could say the East was maybe better than the West? And I think it is better than the West. The East is stacked this year.
It's definitely deeper. Definitely a deeper division. But I feel like no, I can't. I would say normally that the Warriors are the team that's above everybody else. But who knows? What do the Warriors look like in a week? What do the Warriors look like tomorrow? Exactly. What do the Warriors look like right now? So, yeah, you might be right. East is far better or conference, I should say.
I mean, the West has. Okay, I'm gonna just say they have. We know who's in the West, but they have. I'm just saying the bad teams, like genuinely, that I think they have Houston. People are saying the Kings could make the Kings could be a playoff team this year. I don't really buy that at all. Obviously, I do the Kings. The Thunder, especially because their star talent is De'Aaron Fox. I love De'Aaron, but anyway. The Thunder, we got the Jazz. I don't think the Blazers are going to be good. They literally absolutely ruined this whole retooling of the roster. And then they had the Spurs. So what is that? 5 bad teams? 6? Did I just name? Houston Kings. Yeah, like that's 4.
One of them is going to make the playoffs.
And then there's the East, where is there the Magic and the Pacers are the two terrible teams.
Magic are going to very much outperform their win projection this season. I think you can bet on the Magic to win. They're projected like 25 and a half games. So I think they're going to kill that. I think they're going to finish in the mid 30s, probably closer to the 40s. Because
26.5.
Almost at it. But I think they finished way above that. I don't think they're a playoff team though.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, not. Well, yeah, they got some cool guys on that team. They got a lot of cool characters, but I'm just saying, like, teams that are definitely not going to make the playoffs. And I could see with the Hornets too. I wanted to actually bring this up. We were talking about Charlotte. They had such a cool rebuild going. It seemed like they finally started to figure it out, like what they actually had to do, and it just seems like they've had the same team since they drafted LaMelo, and ever since the whole Miles Bridges thing, which I don't think he should touch the NBA court again, but this whole thing now, say he does rejoin the team, they're the same team. They are the same team, and it's just what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're gonna wait. The biggest thing they did this offseason was bring in Leandro Ball. That's it. But if you go ahead.
Yeah, the Miles Bridges situation, just they let that derail their entire offseason, really. Like, I don't understand why. Like, yeah, that sucks. There was nothing they could do about that, and I don't blame them for that. Like, that's not their fault that Miles Bridges did that. It's fucking horrendous. And like you said, he never deserves to step on a basketball court ever again. Although I think he probably will with the way that sports work, but that's a different story. I mean, you could have done things after Miles Bridges went through that whole thing. Like, you could have made moves, but instead you stayed completely stagnant. You made no moves. You didn't unload that Gordon Hayward contract. I mean, once that happens and you look at your team, you're like, all right, maybe our team's a little bit worse this year. We're not going to be competing for the same exact thing we were competing for last year. That doesn't mean we can't make moves to try and better our team. You could get off that Gordon Hayward contract, get a little bit younger, get off the Terry Rozier contract, get a little bit younger, build some talent around LaMelo Ball that he likes, because he liked to play with Miles Bridges. Go get another guy like that. Go get another guy that can catch the lobs for him. Go get another guy that can run the pick and roll and be that open floor transition guy with him. Instead, they just stayed completely stagnant. Nothing changed. They're going to roll out the exact same team, but a little bit worse next year. So, and with the same head coach that you employed when you were not very good anyway. So it's a disgusting franchise, to be honest. It's just not run very well.
Yeah, they just, as I said, they looked like they were starting to finally figure it out, but then they just died, and they pulled they
really weren't even figuring it out. They had a terrible head coach. They just lucked into LaMelo Ball falling to 3, which he never should have fallen to. Like, he should have just been the number 2 overall pick. And I liked him over Anthony Edwards, but I understand Anthony Edwards going high.
See, the thing is, though, like, this offseason, started off good. It looked like they got Kenny Atkinson, who I thought was great for them, and then he booked it. And after then, they were kind of just like, oh well, we tried. That's kind of just what it seemed like. And you're telling me there wasn't another person on this planet that you would have rather came in and coached your team other than a guy who did it for multiple years and he got you guys to the playoffs one time and it was a first round playoff elimination. Like, what are you doing? Like that, Michael Jordan, this is at you. What are you doing? Like, you're smart. You're a big basketball guy, apparently. Go figure it out. Like, it can't be that damn hard. But
Michael Jordan, apparently the basketball guy.
Apparently he's a big basketball guy. I mean, the way he's been owning this team, it doesn't look like it. But Jesus, like, figure it out. I guess if you want to, okay, I'm looking at the NBA teams right now, and I'm just kind of getting excited. Like, what's a team? I'm not even saying I'm not saying a championship sleeper. What's the team? You said the Magic already. What's the team you're just excited to watch? Like, what's the team you're just ready to watch?
I want to see what Denver's offense looks like with everybody coming back. That's exciting to me. I don't think they're going to go very far, but I do think their offense is going to be very fun. Miami, I think that they're they're going to look kind of the same, but Miami's always kind of a little bit of a fun team. I think Bam Adebayo is going to take a huge step. Is kind of what I'm trying to say here. Bam Adebayo is he's going to put up, they're saying 20 shots a night is what you're hearing out of the Heat organization. So if that can happen for Bam Adebayo, who's one of my favorite players in the league, if he can actually be aggressive now, then I think we could see something with the Heat. But the number one team that I think that is like flying a bit under the radar, I guess, but I mean, they're awesome. The Clippers. They have so many players that I like on that team. It's just top to bottom, just all guys that I like. John Wall apparently is killing it right now. And
the Dougie. You saw that?
That's what I'm basing him killing it off of. It's just, I saw the Dougie. I'm like, all right, yeah, we're back to John Wall. But like, I mean, you hear guys like Bill Simmons saying, "Oh, we got. I'm not going to put the Clippers into my contender bubble." Why not? Kawhi Leonard, when he plays, is one of the best players in the league, maybe a top 5 player in the league. Paul George, when he's playing at his best, which Paul George is a fairly healthy player. Like, he's had a couple injuries, but Paul George is a fairly consistently healthy player right now. So when he's playing, and he's just great. Paul George is amazing. MVP G13 was probably one of a top 5 prime season I've ever seen in my life. Like,
should have won an MVP.
I 100% agree. That was my take the whole season. Paul George should have been the MVP that year, but I mean, he didn't put up the numbers that I think it was Harden won it that year. So is what it is.
Harden needed one at least. So I mean, you gotta give
Harden deserved more than one. The dude.
I'm just saying, like, he had to get it.
Yeah. I know what you mean, but the fact that Harden only has one MVP when he was averaging like 36 points per game for 3 years straight is kind of crazy. 36 and like 9 on like a
he
top
just
5
made
team.
He just made it normal. Like, that's the thing. Yeah. Okay, like, that's the thing too now with James Harden, because you just brought that up. So many people like genuinely think he's not good anymore because he's not scoring 40 points a game. And yes, obviously last season with the Sixers, the talent, he was hurt though too. Was not the best James Harden we've seen. We all know this. James Harden this year, even fully healthy, he's not going to be giving you those all. I mean, maybe he'll do it a couple of times, obviously during the regular season, or there's always a time, but that's not his main thing. He's a facilitator on this team. That's going to be his biggest thing this year, and I'm here for it. I mean, that's how you age, I think. Like, that's a great way to age into this. He's getting older. Why the hell would the Sixers want to put all this on his body? That's not what they're going for here. And you have Joel Embiid. You have Tyrese Maxey. You have Tobias Harris. You have all these guys to share the ball with. Go share the ball. I mean, I'm not trying to like flip back and forth, but we're talking about the Clippers. This team has, I think the reason they're going to stay so healthy is because the depth in the regular season. Depth is important in the regular season. That's a big thing to me, especially in the NBA. If you can keep your guys, your starters, like, obviously you want them playing big minutes, good minutes, but you want your bench to. The bench is a key contributor in the regular season. I think it makes it's a bigger difference, obviously, but in the playoffs, you need 3 guys in those situations, and I think that's what's going to be a big thing for the Clippers this year. They got a good guys off the bench that they need, and they have the depth throughout the regular season. If they need a guy to take a break, they can, and that's what the Clippers do. They load manage, especially with the team.
Yeah, and with those guys, you kind of have to with Kawhi, John Wall, Paul George, a little bit. Like those are guys that you got to load manage, but they put themselves into a position where they've got like real guys that can come in and fill this position because that was their whole team last year. Their whole team that made the play-ins was backups pretty much. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty impressive what they've started to build there, and then you've got a great coach like Tyrone Lue. So yeah, I love the Clippers this season. Huge fan of what they're building out there. There was something else I wanted to say, but it's completely slipping my mind. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I saw James Harden drop 52, 14, and 13 or something like that in person. Yeah. It was not normal. What James Harden does is not normal. Like, I understand the free throw merchant, stuff like that. The 52 points were not all free throws. They just weren't. And I mean, that kind of stuff doesn't just disappear. The burst is something that maybe he doesn't have the same anymore, but James Harden really was never a bursty guy. Like James Harden has been kind of a change of pace a little bit, but it's more from quick to slow. That's kind of just the way he works. He's kind of a backwards player, so he doesn't need to be back at a full athletic prime, in my opinion, to be playing at his best. So I think we're going to see a much better Harden this season. I think we're going to see no hamstring injury because he's had the whole off season to like recoup that. So at least for the first 20 games of the season, before all those hits start settling in and you've got those shots to the knees and stuff like that, we're going to see a much closer to prime Harden than we've seen last season.
He's a definition of shifty, James Harden. Like he's just such a shifty player, and like he's very fun to watch, and
crafty.
Especially during those crafty, great word, just especially during those prime years. I mean, it was just so fun to watch. Anyway, I don't really have anything else today. Do you have anything else?
That's about it for
All
me.
right. Well, we are, as I said months ago, we are in the best time for sports. I mean, in probably a week, I'd say a week or two, because it's going to be deeper into the MLB playoffs. You know, the NFL season, the NBA season's kicking off. There's going to be something to talk about every other second, and I cannot wait. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us again this week. I'm Chris here with Chase, and catch us on Instagram and Twitter at CCSN Sports, CCSN Sports Chris, and CCSN Sports Chase on Twitter. That's the best place to interact with us. Cannot wait to talk to you guys next week, and we'll see you then. Have a great day.